But yeah, and then we could shout you out at the end, and even say like, hey, he's got a really cool like AI agency brand. You should go check him out.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
I would.
it's literally the shout you out at the end, and even say like, hey, he's got a really cool like AI
Company.
agency brand. You should go check him out.
I mean, I'm all down for it.
Yeah,
I
so
would.
it's literally the
I'm
shout
hearing
you out at
myself.
the end,
Uh,
and even say,
I just
but
realized I already
yeah.
went live. I went live earlier than I meant to. Did I
Oh
even put
no.
the right title on there? Yeah, I did. All right, so guys, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. And I did see a couple people pop in. Owner, I remember seeing you on Zoom, but I can't remember who you are without your name. Who's owner again? You can just make a post in the chat and just send me another message. Anyhow, today I'm doing a training on I'm showing off my new AI app. So what this does is it actually automates onboarding and a lot of the fulfillment for setting up a high level account, but it can also be used to automate projects that you can't automate inside high level. Like if you have to log into a portal and get some leads or submit documents somewhere, those kinds of things it can do. So anything that can be done over a browser, it can handle. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have ever used GPT agent mode, OpenClaw, Gemini Vision, Claude, the Claude Chrome extension. All of these things are full-on agents that a browser opens up and you can watch it work. Manus does the same thing. So you have to be careful with these things. You guys may have heard the horror stories like a Replit agent deleted a business's all of their contacts and then regenerated them so that nobody would find out because it made a mistake. And the business didn't know what was going on for a while because I imagine they're getting a lot of bounce emails, calls, probably shut their whole business down, at least for until they got it fixed. And who knows how possible that was. So there is some liability, which is why it's really important to have safe guardrails. So the way we do it, the way we envision it, there's different ways. Like I will let you guys authorize the AI agent to work in your live account, but it'll have warnings. So I don't want to get into all that. I'll show that when actually get into the app. Basically, there's guardrails in place. We build in an empty sub account, and then my team, the AI agent QAs to make sure it was done properly. Then there's a human QA, and then my people move it into your agency. They transfer the sub account. That way, you own the snapshot. Because if I just give you the snapshot, then you can't reshare it. So that's important. So then you own the account. Now, when you're onboarding an automation client, just knowing based on whether there's no like set structure, right? There's no standard procedure for going A to Z within a high level account build. Every business owner is going to have uh, different things they need done first that are high priority, that are impacting their revenue. If you try to present everything and get everything approved that they mentioned all at once, it's too much information for them to understand. You need to keep it limited to what we need for this phase, and you need to roll out in phases, right? So that everybody can digest the information and the important work gets done first. And there are a lot of businesses where project management is like that, where there are scenarios that pop up based on just maybe the district that the job is in. If it's contracting, like there might be different permitting requirements, maybe a bad inspector, all types of scenarios that pop up. And if you map out each of those scenarios, then based on the sales call, if it's the business owner and they really know their stuff, they can they can flag all those things on the call, and then the system can kind of take it from there. So when I started coding my first app, I started researching, what platforms to use. I'm gonna give a little bit of context around this. I've shared it with my clients on office hour sessions, but I really haven't talked about it on a YouTube video, I don't think. So with certain ways of building, like Lovable, for instance, is going to cap you only into their AI models. If they raise their price, you can't get it out. So you're really boxed in. As these tools have gotten better, now it's actually not that difficult to set it up the right way where you own everything, where you're in scalable systems, where you're not really dependent on anybody. You can use whatever APIs you want. And that to me is really, really important. So I started with Claude Code, and then I realized I started with Claude Code, Supabase, and Vercel. Those are platforms. They're very inexpensive to start, dang near free, and they scale cheaply. They work really well. Um, and then I use a GitHub repository and Claude Code or GPT Codex. So Claude Code, I learned it was better than Codex for a second, but then 5.3 and the new 5.4 are the best ones for coding. And one thing that's interesting about all of these different AI agents I described, because the browser agent is really the key thing um, that being a part of this system that makes it really special, even beyond just the custom project phases, which is also something pretty unique. Um, these browser agents, whether you're using Manus, uh, whether you're using Claude Chrome extension, GPT Vision, all these things, GPT agent mode, they're all really just a harness, right? So it's GPT is the harness, or Claude is the harness, or Manus is the harness, and they're all calling different tools. So Manus is calling Claude to actually analyze the images, and it's calling a tool called Playwright to actually see the screen and operate on a browser. So these things are not, these tools can be used by any application. So Codex is the best harness and it's the smartest coder. And so I plan out the overall picture, the best like brain and overall planner and copywriter from like more of the human side is going to be Claude, Opus 4.6. But when it comes to actually executing the plan, Codex is going to be the best. So my app, whether it's for writing copy and making the plans, it's all uh, Claude, which is the most expensive one. Um, I posted a video on my Instagram the other day. It's really interesting. In a year, an average human employee outputs, I think, about 1 million tokens of work. That's like in the documents in our writing. Um, 1 million tokens costs about $15 with Codex. It costs about $40 with Claude, and with some of Musk's models, it's literally like $5 for a year of work, essentially. So these tools are very powerful and they're getting very accurate. Like you guys know how dictation has been rough. They just came out with Whisper Flow. Whisper Flow is 100% accurate, very fast. And that's what I've integrated into my app for you guys to use in the chats and everywhere and for submitting tickets. So what we've got is like a custom stack for my own harness. My app is the harness for the browser agents here. So it is the harness like GPT would be or Claude would be, and we're calling Playwright and doing all sorts of things so it can continue to work on its own. Now, when I send Codex to work, it will literally work for hours and hours and hours. Once you set it up the right way, and you say, "Hey, I want you tell it when your goals are, like what you need it done by, and you say, hey, I want to set this up in such a way that you don't need manual review from me, or you need as little manual review as possible. If you give it that instruction, it'll it'll kind of teach you and you'll learn how to set that up properly. It did take me probably 4 hours to even get set up in Claude Code. And then once I realized that I needed to give it more access to things to be able to QA itself, it probably took me another 4 hours to get into that rhythm. And then I'm started having to learn about how I store my data to prevent certain errors that I see popping up and usage spikes. So just architecting the underlying database. And guys, I figured this all out on my own. I've never worked with a database before besides high level, So the reason why I switched from a high level funnel to I realized I wasn't showing my screen. I'm going to show that in a second. High level funnels respond slower. So like if you send an API call and you're like, hey, I want to update this funnel with information that's in my CRM, it'll take 10 to 15 seconds. That's just not acceptable for an app where people are doing a lot of work and need to move fast. So that's why we switched to a full app. So now I'm going to show you guys, and keep in mind the first few sections are the ones that I polish the most because that's really what's going to really take the weight off of me and my clients. The fulfillment end of it, I'm going to have to describe how some changes are going to be. But the first stage in kicking off a high level build, or really this is more like an agency flow. So it's virtual work that's being done. And this can manage virtual work being done with almost any, not necessarily just high level, but obviously I've uploaded, even just for high level builds, a 50-page document of my, templates when they're ready, like how it looks when it's ready for my team to install, all the guidance I give it different for each section, why you need it, why you don't need it, what happens if you don't do it, all those kind of things. So then you can take the transcript of a call with a client when they need virtual work done. This is definitely going to be more effective with high level. You upload the transcript here, and it flags anything that needs to be done on that call to be able to move, to deliver the fastest. So that's going to be a lot of access to different platforms for my team. And that's team specific access. So if we're giving an AI agent access to anything, it would be in a scoped basis where it really can't see any of your workflows, can't see any of your contacts. And so for that reason, mostly in an empty sub account. Um, so any phase, these are like the templates for um, what we need for each of the different aspects of a project. They glow blue once we've gotten enough information, and if there's not enough information, it'll tell you what we need here, and they expand once they're ready for approval. So I have to mark it ready for approval, and I have to scroll all the way down to the bottom before I can get there, and then the client marks it approved on the bottom right as well. So they've accepted this is the copy that's going to be going out to their clients. You know what I mean? So it's important they look at that first. And it's got a section for everything for like community builds, for affiliate builds, for every single part of high level. And then I'm going to be adding in meta ads next and all of my other sections, which is like a template for what we intake and what we output when that service is requested. Um, then the plan phase generates. There are really four schemas for managing a project. There's my team plus AI is doing it. There's my team's doing it without AI. There's the client's doing it, and then the client's doing it with AI. And then you can customize it from there by moving things around and editing things right here. Once the first phase is approved by my project manager, they can approve even the sub phases they can approve. And once they do, this is the development page. The mode of the previous plan was human-led only, and so there's no AI things showing here. But once you approve the plan, then the AI goes back in and researches every task in the plan and scores it for how safe it is for AI to do the task. If it is totally clean and blue, which means, and I also have a criteria where if it would take more than an hour, because if my team has to go and spend an hour putting in credentials to let the AI get to work, it doesn't even make sense. They should still be done by a human. So if it's a bigger task, um, then it will be assigned to AI, and this would be glowing blue. So they just go through, they click blue, they click start, 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 start. It'll show a screenshot, like a recent screenshot, and then a message from the AI. If it needs help, it'll let you know. The team gives feedback, and my team really would be the one working this. If a client was gonna um, do a run, then they would do it from the optimization page. Once you clear the pre-flight, which means giving the AI access, acknowledging the risk level, it'll make sure that all that's approved. Then it's going to open up an actual browser agent, and you can choose a task that's up next, or you can ask for help with something else. And this UI is real dirty. I'm giving my feedback and ideas here, but there's been a lot less rounds of refinement than what you see on like this screen. So it'll all get much more clear down here. In the back end, every time the AI does a task, it keeps a document updated with best practices for getting it done quickly. And anytime it does something faster, or my team provides feedback that helps to do that, or a client provides feedback that helps to do that, it updates. And so the vision for this is that it will be cross-platform. I've provided a ton of guidance that's going to help be successful delivering high-level accounts, and a lot of that translates. And then with the AI able to break tasks down into small bits like this and organize it, I think that it'll be possible to get working on other platforms. So that's really like from A to Z what I've got so far. I think by tomorrow, well, tonight I'll continue to try uploading clients and make sure it all flows smooth. To give you an example of like data processing issues, one that I'm trying to fix is it keeps dumping like all of the data right here for some reason. And the way you give feedback is really simple. So I'm going to show you guys how I do a round of feedback. My Codex project has a skill for processing my feedback transcripts. And so first thing it does is make sure that I plan out processing the transcript and then putting it all into a planner that organizes what's been done, what we're still working on. And I'm going to show you guys how I do that real quick. Loom, it does really good transcriptions as well. That's what I've leaned on over other services until Whisper. But now I'm switching over, except for these feedback sessions, because I'll go between different browsers and stuff like that, which can mess up Whisper flow. So, um, the first thing I'm noticing here is we're still getting the big blob of data at the bottom of the current phase scope section. And I know we've been trying to work on that. So I want to make sure you thoroughly QA that and make sure these are actually showing up clean. And if you're still seeing this problem here, it makes me think maybe we haven't checked all of the other ones as well enough either. And I'm looking at Larry's project, the military veteran team, and the SOP call tab. The tasks that are showing up are persistent now. When I'm switching tabs, they don't reload, so that's good. Same with the plan, that's all being saved properly. I do realize that we need to make a couple more changes. I realize there's more execution modes than we had thought before, right? Really, there's four different schemas. One is going to be totally client-led, and in that case, we don't need to ask for any credentials or access. Um, it would just say, create an account for that platform if they mentioned that they are going to need one that they don't have. Um, and if it is client led plus AI, then they're going to want to set up the AI to have access properly. And so that would be a different type of task for them. If it is mass market AI, no AI, then we're just setting up our team to have access. So, uh, but we still need to get the access. So it's different from if the client's doing it. And if we have AI involved, then we need to set up the AI to properly execute those tasks. So it creates more credentialing that needs to be done. And then also, my team isn't going to share credentials with the AI. So they need to create sandbox accounts, and it also creates new tasks. And that should be analyzed per deliverable that's needed or per the sections, like all the different requirements for the project. And I'm not sure we need a generate plan and a regenerate button. I think maybe that should just be one button. It says generate plan. And then once they've generated the first time, it should just say regenerate. It should just update the UI to say regenerate plan. I'm still seeing the wrong logo for Claude. I provided you one that is just the Claude logo. Same with the GPT, and I'm on the project plan tab and looking at the plan assistant as well. You did update the whisper flow thing, but it shouldn't have the words whisper flow in that image beside the one that has the logo and just the word flow. It should be the one that just has the word, uh, just the logo and flow. It should really look just like the one in the plan assistant. The one in the plan assistant looks good with the microphone, and then that's exactly how it should look on the Get Help. And I'm still not seeing the take a screenshot action. I'm also realizing for a client to provide feedback across high level and um, other platforms, we need to make sure Whisperflow is going to record even when they're changing out of the browser tab. I know I have that problem when I use Whisperflow in a field through the um, Chrome integration I have. So I don't think that'll be an issue that persists if it's in our app, but I want to double check that. And I think we missed some feedback on the, well, I'm noticing we're not flagging all the build. Oh, this is the build review checklist. So I just want to clarify then, does that mean that my team covers the build review checklist and then the actual onboarding call checklist appears? That would make sense. I just want to make sure that that is still a separate checklist that we're keeping in the back end and updating with every new piece of information that's provided, and that it will display after the build review is complete. And that makes sense. Oh, it looks like maybe I can. Nope, I can't change that. Um, all right. And then on the optimization tab, my vision was for just the browser help pre-flight to be underneath the three tabs for self-service, monitored browser help, human help required support. I wanted just the flight pre-card, browser help pre-flight to be all the way across the screen, and the browser guided help window should only show once they've completed the pre-flight, because this UI is just way too overwhelming and confusing for clients. And I'm guessing you just haven't gotten to where the optimization notes, we're talking about upselling. This is like, I don't know if this is client facing or not. We shouldn't be mentioning upselling in the client view. And I want to make sure that there's a distinction, but we should always be planning the next phase. And so I think down here it might be better to say next phase notes, and it be more client facing, but it can still be suggesting the different things they wanted to automate later on in the process. Um, all right, I think that's a good round of feedback. And so that's it. You just take the transcript. Now it does take quite a bit of setup to get to where you're at this point. But once you're at this point, you can build anything you can imagine. And all of us, like, there's something that we do day to day where we haven't been able to automate it yet. And it can be really complex processes like this. So I'll describe a little bit. I think there's probably everyone on this phone has some skill that they have that they could turn into an app. And there is a knowledge barrier when you're a true master of any skill that would prevent somebody else from making this app. Like nobody else, well, maybe somebody. I think that my knowledge in high level setup is pretty advanced. And so if you have a skill set that's advanced, you start by making that a document like I did. You've got your templates for what finished work looks like for some things that would be submitted for actual execution or for permitting or for the final product of that process that you run. There's also the onboarding form that you would intake a client into that process. So you put all of those fields plus the final deliverable into a document, and then you open up Loom and you explain everything that goes on in between. You know, all the rules for how you for each scenario. Those scenarios make up the components that would separate somebody else from being able to create what you would create. And here, I'm gonna go right here. And here is some more feedback. Let's make sure to process it all into the planner. So you do want to, it is important how you run this. They just came out with 5.4, which is able to run at fast mode. In fast mode, it's almost the same intelligence level. Um, it is even fast mode is smarter than 5.3 was. So the model I was using last week, now the new model is smarter than it, going at 1.5 for the speed. And for you guys who were here when I talked about the amount of tokens an employee uses in a year, it's crazy to compare what you can do here. And even with me going full steam, having this thing running 24/7, I'm not even scratching the surface of my rate limit. I'm still at just refreshed, and I was only down to like 70% for the 5 day or the weekly. Um, so you can run things in at the same time, but I was trying to split up like QA from build, but what that caused was it not being able to continue working very long. And so I'm waiting until the project is there's more areas that are far enough apart from each other before I'd have two agents working at the same time. This is the same thread I did the whole thing in so far, and it has 1 million token context. So that means that it can remember at one time essentially the same amount of content a human employee would produce in a year, right? So to me, staying in the same thread where it has the whole context is pretty valuable. And so it'll be a while before I split off into multiple threads. You can trigger automations to run automatically. So I could say every 10 minutes, check to see if we got any emails from clients and process those feedbacks into the planner. Now that would be something that I actually could do and will start doing once people are using that feedback widget. And that way from I'm still running everything from this main thread, but it's another agent is adding feedback and organizing it properly into the planner. Um, who has questions? So this thing is running now. It's going to make a plan for me. And you always want to use plan mode. Um, it will work much, much longer when you set it that way, especially when you give it a directive like, hey, work towards this goal. Um, and with the planner, I've got a lot, it can see everything that's in the way of it in that goal. And the planner is a back end, database item. Um, so it's really, really cool what's happening these days. I'm just blown away by the fact that I'm about to be able to make an app that can, automate so much work. Um, so yeah, who's got some questions? And I think I've said about everything I can think of to say about it at the moment. I think that it'll be ready for some clients to start beta testing by this week. I'm hoping tomorrow. Depends on how much time I get to play around with it once I'm done with work. But the other crazy, oh, I have another crazy stat. So I started working on this, um, 2 weeks ago in Codex. So in 2 weeks, I've written about, I would estimate between two and 300,000 lines of code. At the end of my first week, I was at 80,000, and I hadn't even gotten it working on these like multi-hour runs like I have it now. So really, like I'm on 16 back-to-back calls a day. Right now, my first availability is Friday, and even in between calls, I still have time to give a round of feedback and keep this thing going. So a senior developer on average, I think right now still only does 30,000 lines of code. A lot of developers still don't even know how to use these tools. They're set in their ways. Um, and so me, and that's a 30,000 lines of code a year. And so me with a fully packed schedule, I've written more than, probably, 5 to 10 times more than that in 2 weeks. So it's just amazing. So who has questions? I'm happy to help you guys, digest any of this.
What
This
will we
training.
need? Will we need Claude to run this automated system too on our computer?
You connect this to Claude.
You connect
So
that to Claude.
yeah,
Okay.
remember
The
how I was
app.
saying,
You connect the app to Claude. Is what you're saying? The
yeah.
onboarding app.
So yep. And so
Fire.
there's this thing called env local, which is where you have to store all your credentials so that the whole app can't see it and so they're not public. And
Ooh,
when I talked about and me even figuring out how to open that file in the terminal and add things in there, uh,
damn,
was what
brother.
took a while. You have to learn how to navigate a lot of these different applications, like where to go to, like what the hell an SQL editor is in Supabase, and how you run a
Damn.
command in there. There's some basics you have to figure out. My team didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, but I did it just fine. It took me a good 4 or 5 hours to get everything I needed into every ingredient I needed in the kitchen, so to speak. So, going to
Wow.
Claude, getting the API key, going to ChatGPT, getting the API key, um, doing that for Supabase, Vercel, um, yeah, that was and learning how to do that and all those different platforms is probably the most time consuming in the beginning. Once you give it all the keys, now it can configure whatever I want. You know what I mean? And I can tell it which model to use where. I integrated Whisperflow yesterday. Didn't take long. It's just so cool to be like, oh man, I love Whisperflow. And then for me to, the same day have it in my app. And then I'm gonna have
Right.
affiliate links for people to sign up for that too, because I guarantee if any of you guys try this, you'll never talk you'll never use Siri again. It's so
Yeah.
much better. Um,
Amazing.
yeah, yeah, I'm freaking pumped. And
So,
so it finished its plan, or it's almost done. So this is how it's gonna set up the next few hours of work, and I'll just be able to see it working while I'm on calls.
so cool.
Let's do it. Submit. All right. So does anybody have any questions for a bounce? So that's about all I can. I hope I didn't get too techie for you guys. I hope that
Yeah,
was helpful.
that was
You,
fantastic, bro.
you
I'm
could
so excited.
you could take the transcript of this and drop it into Codex, and it would be able to help you get set up like I'm set up.
Mm. Oh, perfect. Yeah, might do that.
Yep. Well, guys,
Well,
thank you so. Go ahead.
explain Codex real quick. Because I think I missed
Codex
that.
Codex is like it's an application. So this is getting built on my local machine, right? You have to build it local, and then you can push it to the internet. And so it's connected to my terminal, which, Macs and desktops have some, desk or PC has command prompt or something like that. It's called terminal in
Yeah,
Mac. So this kind of
yeah, terminal. Yep.
replaces that, right?
Okay.
And so it's building on my local machine. So you'd either need Claude Code downloaded on your computer or Codex downloaded on your computer as an application. Now I've
Okay.
heard
I have the
Codex
studio when I run it through the studio,
Visual
Claude. I
Studio.
forget what it's called.
I
Yeah,
was
Visual Studio.
I was running Claude Code through Visual Studio as well before I switched over.
Okay, so you're just running everything. So Codex is a Visual Studio then, essentially.
It's like Visual Studio plus Claude Code, yeah. But it has
Perfect. Cool.
automations, which is the big difference, right? So
Ooh, okay.
you can set this to pick back up on its own, to check for emails. So I can email back, and my goal was to be able to work remotely and not be tied to my desktop because it'll work for 2 hours, but if I'm not here, I could lose a substantial amount of work if I'm not there to kick it back off, right?
I saw something with Claude where you can send messages to like
Yeah.
a something and spark it too, like
Yep.
remotely.
And then here's the other nuance when it's QAing itself. Well, no, yeah. So what I did is I set up I had it configure N8N. So I give my N8N API key. It can actually set up integrations in
What?
N8N. So you can configure like a third party voice, like a retail to high level integration in here. And we're working on a app for the high level marketplace that has N8N because N8N is way cheaper and configurable with these types of tools. So then you'll
Wow.
be able to set up integrations to high level between high level and anything that N8N connects to, which is everything, you know?
It's every yeah, I was about to say. Then
Yeah.
it's unlimited.
Yep. And then the reason I use that is I wanted to be able to send an email to it and have it check the email and start work again. The problem is when it does that, it starts it in a new thread. The automation is a different thread to check. So there's probably a workaround. I just haven't worked through it yet. Yeah.
Damn.
Um, but that's what I got, guys. I'm gonna get some food, and then anybody can send me an email, text if they got more questions. I was just super excited to share this with you all, and then of course the app will be rolling out soon. Everybody who's in my affiliate tree, like you can, if you need to get a new trial and go under me, you can. Um, you're still direct to high level. You guys get an hour from my team for every 97 you spend with high level. And once I finish doing the math, you're also gonna get probably 10 hours with AI or something like that. Um, and you'll be able to have it help you with whatever you need help with in high level. So I'll work out exactly what that allowance is, but there'll be a whole new fully SaaS component to the offering we have. So that's
Dope.
what I got for you guys. If you're watching on YouTube, go to the link in my bio, join the community, and you could get access to this tool. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks, Andrew. Everybody else who's on here.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me see who all made
Oh,
it through
no
that
problem.
long. Dr. Joe made it. And we still got Luis, Sienna, TJ. Well, thank you guys.